Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and Christopher Nolan's Tenet is looking like one of the most exciting films of summer 2020 with a real twisty trailer that came out a few weeks back just as I began my YouTube hibernation because all Star Wars and no play makes Beric a sleepy boy. But that Tenet trailer is still there, just begging to be explained. So I'm gonna pull a Nolan in reverse time back to mid-December to break it down for you shot by shot for all the fascinating visual clues that could help us unravel this insane plot. Spoiler warning in case any of my analysis predicts the movie too good, and let's get started.
We all believe we'd run into the burning building. But until we feel that heat, we can never know.
Okay, the opening shot of this trailer is a cut from black to an aerial shot pushing in on a building, and it matches exactly Nolan's shot that opened The Dark Knight. But instead of downtown Chicago, this is Mumbai. If you're loving the music, the composer for this film is Ludwig Göransson. He is on fire right now. He won an Oscar for Black Panther, and he composed the music for The Mandalorian on Disney+. A voiceover says, "We all believe we'd run into the burning building, but until we feel the heat, we can never know." This is kind of a clue explaining the conceit of this film, in which specialized operatives appear to use a kind of localized time manipulation to reverse the flow of time from their own perspectives, so that while time moves forward for them, normally everything else moves in reverse, and vice versa. So that way they can kind of rewind time back to the start of a loop and evade coming danger, like a fireman getting a second chance to run back into a burning building knowing where the dangers are. Christopher Nolan as a filmmaker has always been obsessed with time as a concept. In Memento, he intercut the narrative with a timeline that flowed in reverse to convey his protagonist's memory disorder. Inception played with time dilation in dreams. Interstellar, time's relationship with gravity. Dunkirk, one battle told at 3 speeds based on land, sea, and air. The Prestige used chronological trickery to conceal a sleight of hand. Even the Dark Knight trilogy films feature ticking clocks that unfold in precise real time. So with Tenet, Nolan appears to be combining many of these to generate a new story based in localized time manipulation, so that single actors within a physical space have the ability to reverse time within a loop and use that to tinker with causality. I know, I'm using a lot of words and none of it really makes sense, but I feel like it's visual language that will make sense when we see it on screen. The unusual physics of John David Washington and Robert Pattinson's ascent up the building might be this kind of time reversal in play. Like, play this in reverse. Notice how it's kind of like they're reversing them repelling from the tower. Nolan showed how time and gravity were linked in Interstellar, so maybe by manipulating the time of things, you can also manipulate the gravity of things. I know it's a lot to process, and I'm not certain about any of this. I'm just doing my best to make sense of this bonkers footage. Hopefully it'll make more sense as we move on with this trailer, but don't get your hopes up.
You do. You chose to die instead of giving up your colleagues.
Okay, so we get another Nolan trademark here with the setting of a train yard. Washington sits on a track similar to the suicide train moment of Inception that Cobb and Mal used to wake themselves up to reality, if there is such a thing. Now, I could be wrong, but the train to the left of Washington could actually be moving in reverse. Like, that first car is not the engine. But, you know, trains and train yards will often reverse down tracks like this to link up with other cars. I don't know, train imagery could be another way Nolan conveys time manipulation in this movie. Like, you can move forward or backward on the track, but you're always on the track. The voice says, "You chose to die instead of giving up your colleagues." And Washington confusedly coughs a death rattle as a man now holds what looks like a spy poison suicide pill. So perhaps Washington was a spy or a soldier who, to avoid capture, swallowed poison. But that was all a test, so this organization of time manipulators reversed his suicide so that now the pill is out of his mouth, back in the guy's hand, and then recruited this soldier for his bravery and his loyalty. And if you think about it, this would also give that organization an insurance policy, because if the agent were to go rogue or betray them, they could just fast forward back to that suicide moment and let them die. So their life is always in their hands. Let's move on.
That test you passed? Not everybody does. Welcome to the afterlife.
Okay, here we see them heading out on a boat across the water, passing these wind turbines. Notice how the blades rotate clockwise. Keep that in mind. But then we see Washington waking up in a hospital bed, and the voice is coming from actor Martin Donovan, longtime character actor. He appeared in Ant-Man a few years back, and there's a clock behind him, time. And he says, "Welcome to the afterlife." Now, it's probably him joking around because Washington's probably like, "Hey, I thought I'd try to kill myself there." But this could also be the way the organization describes their existence after that suicide test. Like, their detachment from time makes them kind of ghost-like. Moving on with the trailer.
To do what I do, I need some idea of the threat we face.
As I understand it, we're trying to prevent World War III.
Okay, in this section, Washington meets with what looks like a technician for this organization, played by French actress Clémence Poissy. You might know her as Fleur Delacour from the Harry Potter films. Interesting that she has a rotary phone. Maybe this is just an antiquated office. Maybe it's an earlier time, or she's just like a hipster. Or maybe she's actually really old and wise, and she uses this time manipulation to forward and reverse in a loop over and over to stay young and beautiful, but she's actually like losing it up there. He asks her about the threat that they face, and she says, "As I understand it, we are trying to prevent World War III. And later in the trailer, she clarifies it's not a nuclear holocaust, but something worse. And I'm guessing that the worst fate has to do with this time manipulation tech. Just ask Doc Brown or the Ancient One about the dangers of meddling with the space-time continuum. And before we move on, there's a shot of this driver in an Audi SUV in a boatyard, and he's wearing a medical gas mask. We later see Washington freaking out with a similar mask on. He's also often shown with a briefcase. So perhaps this is the time manipulation tech. It could be like a breathable gas that displaces the breather from time, and it's dispensed from a briefcase, similar to how the dream sharing technology in Inception was a fluid dispensed from a portable briefcase. Let's move on.
Nuclear holocaust.
No. Something worse.
In this clip, there's a brief shot of Elizabeth Debicki on a boat holding hands with someone else. This close-up of their hands is similar to the shot Nolan used of Cobb and Maul's hands in Inception, and Cobb's memory flashes of that train moment. Maybe the driving force will be a desire to turn back time to prevent some horrible tragedy involving his wife. Then Washington is held in this red and blue lit room separated by a pane of glass as this heavy concrete door curves open. This same room shows up at the end of the trailer with Pattinson and Washington, so maybe there's some significance to this location. It could be a chamber or a portal connected to the time manipulation, but more on that as we move on to the rest of the trailer.
All I have for you is a word. TENET. It'll open the right doors, some of the wrong ones too.
Okay, here we are now halfway through the trailer and things get real interesting. First, there's this uncanny shot of the Magna Viking supply ship moving through the same waterway with the wind turbines we saw before, but it is now all in reverse. Notice the waves on the hull. Notice the turbine blades now rotate counterclockwise. Yet, as this all reverses, Washington can be seen on that vessel doing pull-ups in normal forward time. So whatever Washington's mission is, it appears that it requires him to follow this boat to its place of origin, maybe connected to that boatyard Audi SUV that we know is involved in the street chase. And it is here that Martin Donovan drops the term at the crux of this film and the title.
All I have for you is a word. TENET.
Okay, I'm gonna explain what I think this means, but before I continue, thanks to Bang Energy for sponsoring this video. Every can of Bang is 16 ounces. That's right, no wimpy 12-ounce cans here. It contains 300 milligrams of caffeine, it's sugar-free, and 0 calories. Yet, it tastes great. With over 30 different flavors to choose from, this one is peach mango, but you really should pronounce it peach man-go. Where's this man going? Anywhere he goddamn wants to. It's like getting kissed on both cheeks, one by a big sexy peach, one by a big sexy mango. Why are they sexy? I don't know. They just are really, it's sweet but not overwhelmingly sweet, just like a bite of the fresh fruit sweet. Yep. Look, folks, there are some mornings where I was up all night, binging whatever streaming service, and I'm dragging myself across the floor like DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street. But a can of Bang Energy just picks me up so that I can star blast through more work. Check out Bang on Instagram. You can get 25% off your order at bang-energy.com when you use the code NewRockstars25. There you can get a variety 12-pack with a dozen of their flavors like pina colada, cotton candy, rainbow unicorn, a flavor so indescribable that they have to use a fantasy creature. Thanks again to Bang Energy for sponsoring this video. Get 25% 20% off at bangenergy.com using the code NewRockstars25 and follow the inventor of Bang on Instagram at bangenergy.ceo. Okay, back to the trailer. The word TENET appears to be some kind of code word used by the people who use this technology. The word itself is a palindrome, and the title design makes it so that the word can rotate, like the wind turbine blades, and read the same, forward and backward. The word TENET is actually one of the most famous palindromes in history, as the center word of the famous Latin Satyr Square. It's a 5-word palindrome grid found in the ruins of Pompeii and a number of other excavations. It can be read top to bottom, bottom to top, left to right, right to left, all with the same 5-word sentence. Satyr, arepo, tenet, opera, rotas. With no clear consensus among historians over what it means, some have translated it as the farmer named Arepo works wheels, or the sower works for mastery by turning the wheel. One of history's greatest riddles. It's also worth noting that word opera in there because 2 of the locations in this film are opera houses, the Kiev Opera House and the Oslo Opera House. So perhaps TENET refers to some code that the people in this world have unlocked about the nature of time, how it is something that, like the Satyr Square, can be perceived and experienced palindromically from multiple angles and multiple dimensions. Perhaps Washington will be the sower of the Satyr Square riddle, working for mastery by turning the wheel of time in hopes of avoiding the fates of people of the ancient world of Rome and Pompeii, annihilation. It's also interesting that these big reversals in the word TENET come halfway through the trailer. One theory that I really love is that this movie, TENET, could itself be a palindrome in structure, reaching a halfway point and then reversing back to its origin. And there's a lot of ways that could work, like reversing through the settings, reversing through the mission, reversing character deaths. I'm just really excited to see what Nolan does with this. This section also introduces us to Michael Caine, who appears in nearly every Nolan film, check, and Kenneth Branagh, who might be a villainous character. Pattinson and Washington leap off the Mumbai building, while on the lower balcony you can see the Indian actress Dimple Kapadia. Her character's watching, and we'll hear from her in the next section.
You have to start looking at the world in a new way.
Okay, this section opens with this SWAT officer on the floor. Notice his movement, kind of creepy. He appears to be sliding backward up the hallway toward the gun, as if a reversal of him sliding down the hallway, but sliding? That's also kind of weird physics. Is this building tilted? But notice he's wearing a gas mask. Maybe he's on that same time-bending gas. And then we arrive at the true what the moment of this trailer. A street chase through Estonia on the Linnahall-Parnu highway. Pattinson and Washington appear to drive, being pursued by that Audi SUV, which is driving in reverse. But what if what we're seeing is actually reversed? And Pattinson and Washington are the ones chasing the SUV. They are the ones reversing. Like, it's weird. This whole sequence is kind of a palindrome. You can play it in reverse. Perhaps they're the ones pursuing a guy who already tried to use reverse time to escape, and now they are using another layer of reverse time of their own. Like, notice that Pattinson appears to be steering as he looks over his shoulder, and Washington's gaze is locked on his side view mirror. I think they are moving backward following him. Yeah, I know, this double switch would be super disorienting to experience, which we see from Washington in the next clip.
And try to understand it. Feel it.
Whoa, okay, we might be getting a clearer picture of what's going on here. Bad guy in the SUV is using reverse time to mess everything up and flip over a bystander car. But by double reversing time, they reset the car back to its normal state. They're fixing things. Whatever is going on here. It seems to me that Nolan is trying to top himself from that mind-bending multi-layered chase sequence in Inception. Remember, in which Yusuf flipped the van on the first dream layer, causing inverted gravity on Arthur's hotel layer below? This is somehow even more confusing. And on to the final clip.
What the hell happened here?
Hasn't happened yet.
Okay, so we arrive back at that bullet hole moment that was the focus of the first teaser, the one that was released only theatrically over the summer. That teaser featured some hiccuped editing, suggesting that we might actually be seeing several different examinations of these bullet holes in the glass, and that Washington was actually walking backward, but it was reversed to make him look like he was moving forward. Similarly, here, Washington and Pattinson are in reverse, seeing the results of a shootout that they're about to experience the backstory to. And interestingly, they don't realize they're in reverse initially. However, the time reversal mechanic mechanics work, these men do not have complete mastery of it, or someone else is influencing it in a way that requires them to regain control of it. Maybe that's their mission. This glass barrier may be a kind of Tenet midpoint that gets revisited and looped. Indeed, notice here that Pattinson's hair appears messy from the first angle, but then, as it cuts to the other angle, it's now neatly combed. Most likely, these are two different moments, two different scenes. Ooh, I don't know, do the complex time mechanics of Tenet confuse you too much? Or does it make you more excited to see this movie when it comes out in July? Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at EAVoss. Subscribe to New Rockstars for breakdowns of everything you love, including some super in-depth breakdowns I've done of Nolan's past work like Inception and the Dark Knight trilogy. Also, be sure to check out our awesome new Q&A show, The Big Question, which we apply real-world logic and physics and science to pop culture, like how many people Hulk would kill if he ever clapped his hands, or when will Baby Yoda hit puberty. Thank you for joining me, and now I will make this video a palindrome by reversing back to its origin. Welcome back to New Rockstars.